In this video, we're going to jump into a live workshop with a real client project. We're going to create a Squarespace email campaign, and then we're going to create a dedicated landing page that email feeds. The major challenge we've got with this real example is that the email is huge. It's for a holiday let in mid Wales, a cabin in the middle of nowhere where there needs to be a lot of information provided to the visitor. Things like directions, optional extras, and also management like how to access the property. The challenge with this type of information is we cannot expect our client, or their visitors in this case, to sit down and read through every single line. Some people are like that. I'm certainly not. And so I will scan, read, and find information relevant to me at the time of looking for it. So we need to split up this content into hierarchy of importance. For example, key information that needs to be delivered to the client. And a great example in this one is the postcode does not bring you to the property. Because it's in a rural area, you'll probably be dropped within a mile of the premises. Some might like that adventure in finding where the place is, but most people will not. So our challenge is to take all of this information, condense it in an email, and give the most important information so the viewer can read it, but then show the optional extras where we can bring in some imagery to provide a bit more punch. We can also make sure that we are setting everything up so our visitors or their visitors are likely to be excited before going to stay there. And then we create a dedicated landing page which has all of the information laid out in categorized sections so it's easy to consume. There's a lot to do here, and the workshop is going to take roughly 90 minutes. In fact, there are 2 workshops from our Website Builders live playlist. Head over to the Website Builders channel and have a look at that playlist because it allows me to create loads more tutorials and content like this that you can watch along at your own pace. And very much like I'm inviting you into our design studio as we go through a project. But anyway, back to the task at hand. We are going to start off with the email template, and this is actually for a website that's already live called coitybach.co.uk. I'll leave a link in the description just so you can go and check out that website and see what you think of the Squarespace site. We're going to be using Squarespace email campaigns, and then we're going to be using the latest version of Squarespace, Squarespace 7.1, to wrap it up. Let's go take a look. Today, we're going to look at Squarespace email campaigns, and it's something that I've been wanting to jump back into for a little while. I've created a mini course on Udemy a couple of years ago, and Squarespace email campaigns has changed a little bit since then. More recently, I've had the opportunity from one of our clients, Vicky, who's just launched a website called Coitybach, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. It's a Squarespace website, and we're looking at ways of taking up to the next level, so how to manage communications. It's a holiday let, so email communication is really important, and a lot of this will happen after the sales. With after sales email, our approach can be slightly different, but ultimately we want to get a good balance between a nice glossy look and feel, but at the same time, it needs to be quick enough for loading. And I can show you a tip to get your images nice and compressed for mail shots as they go out. In fact, I've completely forgot to do that when I uploaded them to the system, so that one's on me. I've also taken the liberty of taking the existing emails that Vicky's provided me and put them into a Google Doc. That means that we can just copy and paste the content in and start building the structure around the content. There's 2 examples, one which will transfer really well over to this type of email, another one that's going to give us a bigger headache, but I won't go into that until we have a good look at it. If you want to learn how to get your head around Squarespace email campaigns, create professional looking mail shots, or if you're just intrigued about what the campaigns tool is, and the short answer is it's a direct competitor for the likes of MailChimp. The benefits are that it's integrated in Squarespace. So that means that we don't have to leave Squarespace to manage our mail shots. Even things like collecting emails through a newsletter sign up or automatically adding them to mailing lists when they, in this case, make a booking. All of that is covered. It's also GDPR compliant here in Europe and the UK. So we've got all of that aspect in place. It follows good practice, as you would hope. It's a really good solution. It's not the cheapest, but if you use it heavily, I suppose with everything, it becomes really good value, in my opinion. But I think that's probably enough of an introduction. I'm going to share my screen now and we're going to jump in and have a go. I'm going to share the entire desktop. So the ratio may not be perfect for a 16:9 screen, so I'm working directly on my MacBook. Also, I might be glowing like a ghoul at the moment just because of the light coming off the screen. So you'll just have to stick with me on that one. Let's have a look at the emails to start with. So we've got one here, which is, I think, a perfect length for this type of email. And what I'm going to try and do is combine a traditional email letter style for the first bit. But when we take links here, we can signpost them off visually. And the same with these as well. Whilst the icons, emojis can work well, I think we can swap them with photos. If someone's made a booking for a holiday let, you want them to get excited about the look and feel of it. So that's where we can put a few photos in there that have been resized down so that they're nice and fast loading. And I think that will really help as well. Then we've got a longer email here, which I think is going to be a real struggle to put into a newsletter format and get all of that in. So what I've suggested is that we do a truncated version of this, which I probably won't have time to do today because I'm going to focus on the shorter email. But if I can create a template, maybe even just a shorter version of this as a final reminder, and then we can put all this content on a landing page that's not on Google. We don't have to, but we could password protect that page. And that's where we can signpost the email towards. So they can receive a normal looking email, but if they want to find out more then about each of these areas, like for example, finding us in poor weather, we can look at that as well. So what I'm going to do is open ChatGPT. I've got the ChatGPT to match my tone of voice. So it means that there's lots of things that I don't have to redo. What I'm going to do first of all is take this email in its entirety. And I'm going to give a prompt. This is a very but it's not at its best as today. So we can say that the email's too long. We need a truncated version where it gets all points across in the current tone of voice, then links to a single landing page. Because in a landing page, we can use accordions where we can put the titles of maybe the questions like FAQs and then expand them then to have the answers for each. So that's something we can. Email technology has fallen behind web technology. So it's much, much harder to put custom fonts in on an email. To get an email to look fully bespoke, we may even have to use sliced up graphics, which is really old school, is what I was doing in the late 90s, early noughties. And yeah, so it's not, email just hasn't come on in the same rate as web and responsive web design has. So therefore, we are limited to a degree in terms of what we can put into emails. And so that's why signposting to a page that has everything, a bit like a booklet or a handbook for your stay, where they can spend the time on the site, have a look through it, and see some nice additional photos, etc. as well. To go through all of that in an email, and Vicky said that herself. She said that some of them, they won't see all of the information because they'll glaze over it. And that's a bit of a problem managing this going forward. So I put a colon at the end of the prompt, just so ChatGPT knows all about that. And then I'm going to punch that in. So ChatGPT loves to do this, where we've got bullet points with code at the start. I've tried to prompt it out of it because it's one of the telltale signs that it is ChatGPT. I think that's probably too short, so I'm just going to ask it to make it twice as long. But with ChatGPT, we don't need to re-put in that initial prompt because it should just pick it up and run with it from there. But already this is much easier to digest and to understand. So this is where Vicky would need to go through it and probably swap out some of this content with content that is more applicable. Some of this may not be high priority, and ChatGPT may not know all of that. So that's something that we can look at afterwards. But in terms of the length of the email, that's where I would go to afterwards. So we're summarizing it in this email, and then we're linking to a page where we have all of that info in full. And I might even do another workshop where I create that page in future. It might be the next live session. Okay, so with that in mind, we've made a good start there. So I'll just give you a quick tour of the website before we jump in and start creating that email campaign. So we've got the website homepage here. I think Ken in Pixel Studio has done a really good job of this. It looks nice. It looks unique and bespoke to this client. I really like the way that he's used the vertical gallery very much like a TikTok or Facebook Reel. And it lends itself then to taking photos off a camera phone and uploading them directly without having to worry about flipping it to landscape. The hot tub here is a really nice photo. I think that sets the scene lovely. It gives us the location, it gives us the feature. So when I talk about principles of design, and we can carry that across a little bit into photography as well. There's one star of our show, and it's the hot tub, even though the dog's giving it a run for its money. And the atmosphere then, in terms of setting it, everything's drawn into the hot tub in the center, but everything else just pictures it as an idyllic location. I think there are many people in the target audience who would look at that and think, okay, I need to book that. Similar then with the wood burner, some nice finishing touches here that make our job as web designers so much easier when you've got all of those finishing touches in the photos. The dark skies photo here, where you've got the stars at night, and that's beautifully taken. So that was what lent itself to the going almost dark mode with the color selection on the side. The slate, it's not gray, it's not black, it's that bluey gray, dark slate, Welsh slate color, which I think works really well, and it just sets it that mystical wood kind of feel to it as well. And let's not forget the main star of this show. We've got the Coiti Bach itself. I believe, I could be wrong, and if there's any fluent Welsh speakers out there, they can probably correct me on this, but I believe Coiti Bach is the little wood, or little woodland. That's what it translates as. So the photos and the amount of flora in these images just backs that up, from the timber used for the cabin right the way through to the woodland setting, and everything just fits in really nicely. We've also integrated a booking software called Book-a-Let. This is where most of the project time has actually been on, is getting this up and running. It's the first time we've used this software, so naturally there are a couple of teething issues that we need to, I think, just finalize. Nothing major. It's just making sure that emails are going through to the right places. At the moment, I think we're collecting the emails and forwarding them, and we're just in contact with them about getting that ironed out. But then the focus now is going to change from building and having a professional website through to the next step will be, okay, what's next? And the what's next is very much around emails. So if we go into the asset library here, and I'll go into email campaigns, I've just realized I didn't compress any of these photos before uploading them. So what I'm going to do is, is there a select all option? Yes, there is down here. So I'm going to select all of these photos and unfortunately delete them all, because I need to practice what I preach. And when I talk about the importance of compressing images for web, it's even more important for emails. So let's bring up a new tab. And the one I use is compressor.io. I've created a couple of tutorials on this, but it's very intuitive, very easy to use. So I'm going to select the files from my computer, and I'll see if I can upload them all in one go. Too many files. Okay. So this is a free tool, so it limits. There we go. So we'll go with those to start with. And now it's just going to compress those in the background. And we can see here now that some of these photos, this one in particular, nearly 8 megabytes. So it's going to look stunning, but ultimately it doesn't need to be that anywhere near that quality to be able to use that in our email campaigns. And so this one, 69%, 72%, that's how much we're compressing the images by. Even the smaller file sizes, we can probably compress them by less. And even some of these are still at 1 megabyte, but what we're doing is we're heavily reducing the size of them by just putting some smart compression on them. We can, of course, do this in other tools like Adobe Photoshop, but this is just the cheapest, most effective way of doing it. Squarespace will compress images slightly, but not anywhere near as good as this will. So if we look at the one that was nearly 8 megabytes, we can see we've saved 90% of that size. That on lots of kind of broadband, but not super fast connections, that will just take an age. You'll just see it coming down step by step on the page. So I really need to do that. So we've saved, that's what we've reduced in terms of that. So if you imagine having 18 megabytes coming into your inboxes, like you can't, on a lot of emails, you can't send attachments over 20 megabytes. So email tools like Google will not like that much, even if Squarespace compresses them to say 40% of the size, it won't be anywhere near as good as doing this. So anyway, sermon over. We can see now that that's put into a zip file. But before we do any further, I'm just going to refresh it and see if we can do the other three. Hopefully it won't limit us. Oh, there we go. There we go. Saved another 5 megabytes. To download all, we've got 2 zip folders now. So I'm just going to double click on them. And now we just need to know to upload from those folders. So we go back to Squarespace. They moved the asset library around a few times. This was a relatively recent addition. I think it's probably in the last 18 months. Squarespace have actually finally got a folder library set up. Before it was really difficult to find everything. So I'm a big fan of that. It used to be down the bottom here. Sometimes it's in settings. Now it's under website and assets, if you're looking for it. And now we're going to upload files. Now we've downloaded them. We can see the compressor.io. It hasn't actually shrunk the size of the photos. There's still large photos, but the compression just means that they're going to be quicker to upload. When we're uploading photos, sometimes we see these errors. I think you can just ignore them. They still work, and we can count now at the end of this. This seems to be a little bug. I'm not sure if it just happens with me or happens with everyone. But we can see of the 9 photos that have been uploaded, only one of them showed without error. But if I refresh it, my money's on, they'll all appear. There we go. So now our photos are all in place. So I don't know, it's not a major bug, but if you see that, just refresh the browser. Let it all finish first, and then refresh the browser, and it should work then. I'm being a bit slow here. Where's the upload option? Okay. I had my thumbnail overlapping the icon. I thought it'd be something silly like that. So now we go to the second of the 2, and we'll upload the final 3 images. Yeah, that's our housekeeping done. Let's jump in and start using email campaigns. And it's been a while, so I'm going to have to find out where it is. And we can see it here under marketing. Now, I'm really hoping that email campaigns are connected to the asset library. It would be absolutely crazy if it wasn't. But I believe Ken created one demo campaign or a draft email for it. So we're going to have a look at that first. Jump on the preview, and we can see that's looking really nice. Just a single product campaign. We're going to have to do a little bit more than this with our template. But what we can do is, instead of starting from scratch, we can reuse this template. So this could be a campaign, so a one-time send, a subscriber activity, or a customer activity. Now, the one thing is, the downside here, we're using a third-party booking software, which is far more advanced for managing bookings, being able to take different types of payments, different payment plans, etc. But the downside is it's not directly integrated into Squarespace email campaigns. Although we're probably going to look at a way of linking it up using something like Zapier, where you can, when something happens on the booking software, it triggers this email in future. But for now, we're just going to create a campaign, which would be you're in control of sending that out to a mailing list that you choose. So the one thing we're going to do to start with is Vicky's going to send this out manually, probably check through her new bookings once or twice a week. And the reason that's fine in this case is simply because there's one premises. So it's not as if it's a hotel with 112 rooms and you're having to do this manually for 3 hours a day. It's going to be a very quick process. It's going to be load up the email account or the contacts that you're going to be sending this email to, send it out, and then you should be golden. So this is the email campaign interface. We can see the email styles on the right here. The reason I reused this one is because we don't have to go and change this, but this is going to be pretty much paint by numbers. We've got a standard email background color. You've got a font tag. The fonts are going to be far more limited on here than they would be for a website, as I was mentioning in an earlier email, infrastructure just isn't anywhere near as advanced as website infrastructure. So this is our starting template. I can just delete this and then start again. But I think what I'm going to do to start with is just leave this in. I'm going to get ChatGPT, give me a title, this mail shop. To see what ChatGPT comes up with. Yeah, that could work. Well, I think I'd prefer mine. So what we'll do is a combination of you don't need the query bar in again because we got it at the top. Get rid of any spacing. And now we've got query bar repeated twice. We don't need that again. And the getting ready for your stay as our title. Okay. Actually, I'll repeat the title in here for now, but then you'll be able to go in and change this for something that's more suitable for what you want. But I'm just double checking that we didn't duplicate the previous template because we want to keep that one as well. So when we look at the email campaigns tool, it's like Squarespace, but it's more like the old Squarespace 7.0 in terms of we've got these similar sections here where we can add in different elements, but it's more structured and rigid in terms of how it's laid out. We don't have Fluid Engine where we can just take this image and move it around to where we want because of, again, email technology. And I don't need to keep bang on about that point, but that makes it more limiting. So we can replace the image and we can choose text, but ultimately we've got a small selection of options that we can choose from. What I really like about Squarespace email campaigns is we can actually select items from a blog, our Squarespace blog, and feed them in. So the last three blog posts could be brought in into the page, and it would dynamically feed that through. It allows you to edit the summaries to get them nice and compact. And then when someone clicks on the button, it automatically takes them back to the blog on the website. A really powerful yet simple feature that saves a lot of time in creating emails with this tool. So we've got the option to add in different block types, which we'll go into in just a moment. And then once we've created the block types, we've got different ways of editing the text, as we'd expect. We've got the image editor, which allows us to crop and adjust the photo, and it will create a new version of that photo in the asset library. But I'm going to leave all that for now because we might want to reference it just to keep our style consistent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a new template on top of it or above it. So we'll start off with some text. No, I don't want that. I can close that down there. I'm going to bring ChatGPT closest to it because it'll be easier to jump back and forward. So I'm using Command C and Command V. I'm on a Mac. If you're on a PC, Control C, Control V to copy and paste. And we can see that the text is starting to position ready, but we can also see here that the margins aren't quite right. The mail merge tags here. But first of all, we can see that there is no way of editing the spacing of that via this text area here. So what we need to do is go across to the right-hand side here, and we can see the style tab, and we get all of our options in here. This is where we can adjust the padding left, and this is why it's handy to keep the other content in place. If it was like for like content, I could just copy and paste it over top of that content below. But in this case, it's not. So we need to make sure that we are doing it slightly different. So One thing I've just spotted here is I can't seem to be updating the text easily enough. So I'm going to remove formatting just to check there's no extra formatting on it. What I am going to do is go back out of this and come back in and see if it gives me the option there. But I should be able to see the different option to change it from paragraph styles to heading styles. So if I go into drafts here, we can see we've got the original template and we've got the new one. So we can edit this template now. And from there, we should just be able to go back in and start working with this again. So what I'm going to do is, if it's not giving me the heading style, I'm going to force it. So I'm just going to copy and paste that text in there. And then I'm going to copy and paste this. But what I'm going to do is paste it after the first letter. That means it inherits the style of the rest of that paragraph. And that worked. Yeah, I'm just putting placeholder content in there. So instead of having it click here option, I'm going to put a button in, which will be a link to the welcome pack. I'm not going to link it up now because we'll need to create the page first. But I'm going to add a new section and add a button. And here we go to the right-hand side. And I'm going to put it into the burnt orange and then make the text a darker color. And we're probably going to need to just change some of that font. We can align the button to the left. I'll leave the link in for now, but if we click on the cog, we can change link to a page on the website via this option here. So it means then we don't have to go and manually get that link, which is another benefit for staying with Squarespace. The section color is transparent because we can inherit the rest of the background color of the site, but we could make the whole section a different color to stand out, but I want this to flow really nicely. We've got the padding options again. So again, I want to bring this in just so it aligns nicely to the left. So we've got that clear line. The heading can be central, but then when we get into the content, especially when we're going over multiple lines, it's always nice to keep them nice and uniform. The best way to get them all perfect is to look at the first text block first, then look at the padding and just double check that we've got the same padding, ideally left and right, but 28 pixels, and then we match them up just so we've got that perfectly aligned text to the left. Okay. So we can see here now that that text isn't very easy to read. So there's two things we're going to do with it. One is we're going to put it in bold, and two, the letter spacing is way off. So I'm going to take that down from, it had 3 times spacing, which was just really hard to read. But there is no way at the moment to increase the font size of that text. Not that I can find. I'll circle back and see if I can change that afterwards, but it may be a case of that's in the overarching styles here. Now here we are, font sizes. And then maybe we just have to bring the font size across the board bigger. We're going to have a trade-off there in terms of the amount of space that text takes. So that's something we just need to kind of look into, decide what's suitable. I'm going to leave it as it was before for now. Next up, we're going to add some images to break up this design. And here, we've got a couple of different options. We've got list style images, card, and the best thing to do is have a play around with these and see what works for you. But in this case, we're going to go with grid. And we've got set image sizes, where you click on these dots and it will change it to percentage. So for example, 33% means 333. Or 111, to make 3 images across the page. And I think we'll do with that. We'll go with 3 images across, and then we've got the option to align and space them as well. So this is one area that has moved forward since I last worked with it. It was more rigid before, but now there's a bit more fluidity with it, which is nice. So instead of uploading the photos, because we've already compressed them and uploaded them to the asset library, which is a process that whether you're just working with Squarespace or email campaigns, I'd strongly recommend you do, then it just makes it so much easier to select the photos. So I can put 3 photos in, but now we can go in and change them to whatever she wants. I can't find the dark skies photo. So I can go and find that from the other image library afterwards. But just only let me add 2 images at a time at the moment. So I'll just upload. Oh, I don't want to upload. I'll just add the 3rd one. Again, select from library. What's the dog. We definitely want the dog in there. So what I can do now is click on this grid on the right-hand side here to move those images and reorder them. But this isn't looking very nice, is it? The photos aren't showing off to their best. So let's just see what we can do. Look at spacing. We can reduce the padding between sections, so between the section above and below. That's the first thing we can do. Center padding. I want to get all of this padding down to 0. We can align the images left, right, center, top, middle, and bottom vertically. And that doesn't give us what we want. So we can see here that even when I go on to large image size, so it fills the frame, which is getting closer to what we want, it's still not what we want. So what we're going to do is instead I'm going to go and I want to edit these images. And now we're going to go to crop. And we can go from 3 to 4. Or potentially 2 to 3 if we want more vertical photos, but we'll go 3 to 4. And we're going to apply this to all 3 photos. So you can see that's actually not changing it because that was the original ratio. But we can go and do this for the second photo. I may have jumped the gun there. You really should just wait for it to finish processing it before you jump on the next photo, because Squarespace can be a bit quirky with that. But now we're starting to get there. Again, because of limitations with email campaigns, it won't zoom crop on photos like, say, a website will. So we have to crop the photos. The good thing is this is actually reducing the file size even more. So we've been through the compression. That's the first way of reducing the image size. Squarespace will then create multiple versions of that photo depending on how you're going to use it. Whether if it's a full banner, for example, it will load a higher resolution photo. So for emails, it should have, when I say high resolution, sorry, that's not right, larger photos. So what it will do is it will resize photos physically, depending on the media used. So this one should be nearer a thumbnail or small to medium-sized photo. It will load that instead of loading a huge photo, which is suitable for our main hero for our website or a banner. So if I look at the website itself, it needs a larger image on this for it not to look really pixelated and awful. So Squarespace will actually create multiple versions of the photo when you upload it, and then it will choose the right photo for the application. Whenever we physically crop a photo like this, it will create new versions of those photos. But by then adding compression before we even upload them, we know that we've got a really fast loading selection of photos here that aren't going to be annoying or upsetting to the viewer. So now we've got that in place, we can start working around the spacing. At the moment, when I'm looking at my white space, this is just too compact at the moment, above and below. So this is where we can go spacing on this, which is probably easier on the gallery but we could instead add more space into the bottom of this button and to the top of this block, but we should be able to do all of it within the image section. So we go back into the image spacing with the gallery selected, and we look padding between selections. We'll try that. And then we can manually adjust the padding above and below. I think we probably only need about 10 pixels. And the good thing here, we can adjust it top and bottom independently. So if we want to say a little bit more padding to this text below, we can do that manually. So even though there's more padding above than below, but because of the way the flow of the content, that I think works better on the high. But it's about getting to know all of this and start working with it. So we've got 3 photos there, and I think I'm going to repeat that section with 3 new photos below the bullet point list. And if we go back to ChatGPT, and we're going to add this section. I'm not going to change any of this text, but Vicky will have a template to go in and start working with that. So here, I'm going to have a text block. I'm going to put all of this in. And it's put in as a numbered list, but I can just switch it to bullet points here. And what I can do now is hold Shift and press Enter to create spacing between each bullet point. Bit of a workaround to get that nice and more evenly spaced. What I'm going to do is duplicate this button, and I'm going to remind them of the welcome pack below that section as well. And also we've got some spacing to do here as well. So padding, if we remember, it was 28 on the left. And we're going to increase the padding top and bottom. Sometimes you just do it by eye a little bit. In fact, I don't need anywhere near that padding at the bottom because the button is essentially attached to that text. So that's where I did too much there. So I want that. I think it's actually 0 at the bottom because the button flows nicer then from that text. But already that's starting to look quite nice, I think. I think we can probably add another gallery below, but now we've already got this in place. We can just duplicate the gallery and swap the images. So let's now just go in and replace each of these photos. So the first one, select from library again. And we can see that new 3 photos that we edited for the previous part of the template is there. And I think it'd be nice to have this photo in as well with the time lapse. I think it looks stunning. Or we've already got it here. So maybe I think we'll leave that in there. And instead, we'll choose 3 different photos from our email campaigns folder, which we know are compressed. So this will be more about experiences. Once we've showcased the cabin, we can now look at 3 photos that will set the scene. So we've got the welcome pack here with the food on the table there, which looks really nice. We've got the tub, and we've got then the massage therapy. So again, now it becomes really easy. We can edit the photos, simply crop them to 3x4, then move the location across. We've got a little bit of light coming in. So this one might benefit from just going into the settings here, and if we just bring the shadows down a little bit, bump the saturation up a tiny bit, and maybe up the contrast and then the brightness up just a tiny bit. So it just gives it a bit more punch on the page without going in and doing anything advanced in Photoshop. Now let's edit this one. And what I'm trying to do is get most of the features in there. I think that probably frames it quite nicely. For me, it also takes the bath plug, which isn't one of the, I don't know what that's called, the overflow section. So that looks quite nice for that. We can go in and just bump up the saturation on these if we want. And on this one, it's really good as it is anyway. So I'm just going to bring up the contrast a tiny bit. Especially when they're smaller, we can just bump the contrast a little bit. And finally, if we're going to do the other two, let's just tweak this one a tiny amount. And then finally, we're going to have one text block at the bottom before we bring it into the discount code section. Well, see there's no code being added at the moment, but this is ready to go before that. I think we'll leave the hot tub image in place, but I'll show you how we can add in the final piece of the puzzle in terms of the text here without it looking too, I'm trying to remove the space above and below that image so we got a really nice compact layout design. What I also want to do is probably just put a 2-pixel border, if I can, between each of these images. Now there we are. That's center padding. That's what I'm after. Name it slightly different to the website, so it's just a case of finding it. So I'm going to put that on 4, just so we get a little bit of space in between each of the photos. And of course, I need to do it on this one as well. So I can just go in and manually type 4 pixels there. Okay. That's starting to look pretty nice, I think. Not sure what you think. Last step now is to change this content. So we go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to put that to paragraph. Right. What we're going to do here. We're going to go to the spacing. Take the spacing all the way out to the right, but keep it. I want it to match the spacing here. So sometimes, because it's slightly different spacing on this is an image with text alongside it. And it's the only way we can do it. So I'm just leaving the cursor there and I'm going to move it up and just see if it aligns there. That's not bad by eye, is it? So we're going to keep that the same. But what we're going to do now is we want to get rid of the padding in the sections above and below. We want this nice and compact, or actually a 4-pixel border so it matches this grid frame here. So if we go to padding here, padding is top is 8 on this one, so we're going to drop it to 4 to get that closer. Now we can see that this is actually an extra section. So what we're going to do, we don't need this section here, so I can just delete that. And now put the padding. I think this will go back to 8. Now with this section, we'll add the padding. But with this one here, we're just going to go to the spacing again. And this time at the bottom, we bring it down to 0. We can see what that looks like. It's already looking quite nice. But what we can do in this section here now is the spacing again. And we'll put it 4. The wrong section, I was left and right. This is what I want. 4 pixels above, 4 pixels below. So that matches the flow then of the rest of the images in place. The only thing we don't have the same for this one, so I'm going to, just for consistency, we're going to go 4 above that. We don't need to worry about the bottom. So how's that looking? The 4 pixel is barely noticeable simply because we've got the dark background color. But I think that's looking a really nice, simple, consistent email template, which then Vicky can jump in and edit, swap the photos for the one she wants, put the content in, tweak it. As I said, I'm not a big fan of this type of bullet point layout. It's a real giveaway sign that it's ChatGPT content. So again, but the bullet points, I think this is more digestible. It may not have enough information, but that's why we next need to build a landing page which has loads of information that's really broken down in this type of style to both sell the experience, so people can't wait to stay after seeing all of these beautiful photos, but at the same time, it's getting the important information across. And the photos will help to sell the information to make sure people read it, because they're going to be more likely to read it if it looks really nice. One thing we could do now at this stage is remove the ordering of these sections. So it could be that we actually, instead of having the photos down there, we bring them up higher. And instead of having these photos here, we bring them above the list. And I'm not against that structure either. What we can do with this section instead is actually change up the color palette. So instead of having an invisible section color, we could bring it with the orange so it kind of ties in nicer, or we could even go and contrast it, but white. And then we can change the text color. And we've got our colors from our color palette, so we can keep everything on brand. Alternatively, we can either go for the site palette or the email palette, or move something out of the way. We can tweak it slightly. So I could just go for that stone color there, which I quite like. Okay, so a few tweaks there just to get looking right. This is, again, another space we can remove now to make it look more compact. And it's just double checking the spacing's right. So you can see the spacing above that is 10 pixels. We want that to be 4, just so it ties in with the rest of the flow on that email template. I think that's probably a better lead into the email to go straight in with the photos. And even if it just means we've got a bit of work to do, just to tweak the padding. It's a little frustrating. I think the end of the world. Squarespace are using both padding and spacing. I get why they are doing it, because padding is related to text, while spacing is the overall spacing. But I think just call it one thing would probably be more intuitive. But having said that, that's a nitpick. I find it much harder to create templates with a flexibility like this in something like MailChimp. I haven't used MailChimp for a couple of years, so it could have moved on quite a lot in terms of the editor. But I see MailChimp as being more like what WordPress was, where it allows you to do more things. It's more powerful, but at the same time, Squarespace always seemed to find a good balance between making it really useful for designers. And one thing we haven't checked is on mobile view either. So we just need to go and make sure we do that as well. But we can see it's pretty consistent on mobile, and that's looking good to me. And of course, mobile is going to be really important for this particular campaign type, because it's not business to business, it's someone coming in to say. The next step then would be to create that landing page to try and match in the overall style. So when you go from the email to the landing page, it's a consistent flow and it's part of the process, and it's a nice journey from one location to the destination. And we're trying to reassure that our visitors that they've gone to the right place. Hope you're still with me. If you found that quite full on because it's not a simple step-by-step guide on how to use the basics with Squarespace email campaigns, I strongly recommend checking out our free Pixel Haze Academy membership, where we do provide courses and tutorials on tools like Squarespace email campaigns. And that's going to be priority for this autumn 2024. Also, we have our Skool communities where you can get feedback from me and the Pixel Haze team to develop your website, build email templates, work with AI, and create better designs on software like Canva. All the information is in the description, check it out. But now we're going to move on to creating our landing page. And to make this process easier, I'll refer to SquareForge at times through the project. SquareForge is our rapid Squarespace template builder. It allows you to create professional looking landing pages and websites with ease, because myself and my team have built over 300 different layouts that you can mix and match. And I did a quick check with ChatGPT about how many different combinations that works out as. It's something like 7 or 8 billion. Anyway, it's enough. It means that we can have our websites looking unique every single time. And that's one of the biggest challenges I found with Squarespace, is the websites can sometimes be a bit too much the same, even though they are beautiful starting templates. SquareForge is my attempt at trying to fix that and adjust it. We use SquareForge in this, but this is already a live website where we're adding an additional page. If you want to find out how to create websites from scratch, again, check out our Website Builders channel, which will show you all the tools we use to create websites, but also our Website Builders live playlist will go into detail. And there's one other live project in particular where we build a Squarespace homepage from the ground up. But in this upcoming workshop, I'm going to show you how to create a landing page tying into the existing brand, color palette, theme, and structures already using the website, but also finding a way of tying it into the email template that we created in the last part. You might find this a little bit fast-paced. Again, we've got loads of tutorials if you're just starting out. But if you are intrigued about what you can build in Squarespace, and the short answer is an awful lot, check this video out. We created a template for email using Squarespace email campaigns. We took one email that was absolutely huge. We condensed it in ChatGPT to make it shorter and sharper. And what we did then at that point was to add a call to action button that would take us through to a landing page. We haven't designed that landing page, so that template can't go out yet. But you may have guessed it, we're going to have a go at creating at least large chunks of that landing page so the client can pick it up and run with it from that point. We're going to try and keep the theme going strong from the rest of the website, and we'll jump in and have a look now. As I said, if you wanted to have a look at how that website's going, it's already live on coitybar.co.uk. But they'll leave a link in the description for you to check that out. But also, I talked through how we designed the website briefly to be able to create the email template that matched the design of the site. We'll have a look at that email template in just a moment before we start creating the landing page. I've also, just to save us a bit of time, copied and pasted the text in ready for the landing page. It's unformatted. It looks really long, tedious, and uninteresting at the moment. And our challenge is to make that look nice and on brand, and also an inviting space that the visitor gets before they visit the property. If I haven't given you context already, this is a holiday let. It's a wooden cabin in the woods in mid Wales, perfect for retreats, for couples, for example. It doesn't sleep too many people, but it's that perfect getaway with low technology. There is mobile signal, but there's no TV there. There's no distractions. And it's just a place just to go back and to reset your mind as well. So everything we want needs to have that kind of getting lost vibe to it. Retreat the day-to-day life, the rat race, and get out into that tranquil environment. So every part of communication, from initial landing on the website through to the booking process, and then the after sales, but pre-visit, and then ideally post-visit as well, so we can entice them back again in future, or get them to leave testimonials and leave positive reviews. So it's about the customer care, customer satisfaction. And it's something I've used in marketing that's been used for years. I didn't invent this saying, but it's respect the TNT, tiny noticeable things. So these little details on their own don't make up too much, but when we add them all together, TNT is quite an explosive combination. If we get it all wrong, it can blow up in our face. If we get it all right, then it starts that chain reaction. And that's enough of a TNT puns that I need to put out for this one, but we've put out, oh dear. But that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to look at the little details, and I'm working with a client here who's certainly done that with the experience when someone comes to visit it. There's everything from additional extras that tie into the theme and the experience directly, but also we need to now carry that across into the website. So when they receive the 2 weeks out email, which will be probably 2 weeks out, maybe even a week away from this day, a last chance to book any extras, but also to provide them the information they want. At the moment, that's going out in an email. It's got all the information they need. It's providing a lot of customer care from that perspective. But we've had the conversation, and it's not really in keeping with the look and feel that the client wants. And that's partly or mainly due to a technical barrier, because there has been no easy way of building templates in Squarespace. There's been no easy way of creating email templates. But that's where Squarespace email campaigns come in, because I believe it's a really intuitive, easy template system to follow. Again, check out episode 6 where I build that template. But also I truncated that information down because it would have been too much for one email. And then I put the button in to view the welcome pack. We're now going to build the welcome pack. And without any further ado, I'm just going to screen share it now and we'll jump straight into it. Okay, so hopefully you can see the template. And this is the email template that we constructed in Squarespace email campaigns. This took me probably from start to finish. I can do this comfortably in about 30 minutes. We also uploaded the images to compressor.io. Again, it's covered in that video as well. And that helps just to make this email really fast loading. Even though Squarespace has image compression, it's not as good as other options. And compressor.io is free. I have no affiliation with them. It's just the one I picked. There are others available as well, but it gets really good balance between retaining the quality of the photo and making it a teeny tiny file size so it just loads that much quicker. And I think this email template is stunning. I think the photos make a big difference to that. And we've got a theme now where we can get quite a lot of information, on nowhere near as much as the original email, and break it up with some nice situation photos that will help to get the visitor excited before they stay. Everything from the hot tub, which would be an optional extra, I think, through to largely the location. I'm not sure if the dog is an extra that can be booked with it, but isn't he just a handsome chap? And so we've got everything in place, from a nice mixture of kind of experiences and close in of, for example, food spread, etc. We've also got then a photo of the cabin just to set the expectations before going in, and an idea of the rural location as well. So I tried to cover everything in one email. We want to continue this now. So when someone clicks on this welcome pack button, we want a landing page that looks similar, but the beauty of building web pages in Squarespace is we've got so much more flexibility with Squarespace Fluid Engine. Email technology, as I mentioned in the previous video, is still way behind web technology, and that is a big problem. So I'm in Squarespace now. I'm all ready to go. You can see that I've added a page getting ready for you to stay. This is the landing page that we're going to work on today, and this is the starting point. So if I was to expand that, we can see there's a lot of information in here that we really want to break down into bite-sized chunks, maybe going for multiple column formats. And I think we're going to try and keep it largely letter format. So it's a personalized landing page. This is already hidden from Google. So if you go to the cog settings here, we can see it's not linked, meaning it's not going to be on the menu system. But that doesn't mean to say that Google won't find it. In time, Google will probably find that page and index it, meaning that it could appear on search engine results pages. It's too soon in the process to bombard the visitor with all of this information, even though not much of it is highly confidential. It's not about that. It's about easing into the experience. Because if someone sees it straight away, it could be confusing, or it could be too much information that could send someone away from the site thinking that you're just overloading them with info. So our challenge is to strip it back and make it digestible in bite-sized chunks, but also present this content at the right time, which is usually 1 or 2 weeks out. So if I go to the SEO tab here, we can see that I've hidden the page by clicking on this slider from Google. We don't want to do this with most pages, but for a direct landing page, which we don't want to integrate with the website, that's an ideal solution just to keep it as we want. So what we can do now is go to the edit option here, and we can see that we've got one text block, and then we can add new sections. So if I go to add sections, I can see what saved sections we've got in this site already. And we can use some of these pre-existing structures, like, for example, these 4 images here. We need a hero section. Let's have a look at this one. And we'll just... So we can see that's been uploaded as an image. So we can swap that out for a photo in a bit. And if you don't find any saved sections on your site, what you can do, I'm just going to save it here, exit. You can go to any page that you already created. And this is one of my favorite features with Squarespace. And I quite like this 2-column split here. So Ken created this website, and he takes the lead on most of our design projects because I'm spending my time doing this. And we don't need a call to action section. I think that could be quite nice to have this in somewhere. That's the booking form section, which we don't need. I'll save this one as well as a favorite. But what we're doing is we're adding them to the favorite section now, so we can bring them into another page. And these are grayed out. This is because this is the footer section here. And so when we hover over it, we can edit the site footer. But what we can't do is save footer sections as favorites to use elsewhere. It's treated as a separate entity. If we look at FAQs, we've got... I think what we can do is bring this back into that welcome pack page, just in case someone hasn't seen that already. And maybe that's the photo we go with the welcome message, which I think sets a nice scene there as well. Have a look at extras. Yeah, that does a nice job there of breaking down the extras. So I think we're going to save this as well, because the email does break down the extras in terms of booking them, and then we may put an inquiry form or a link to where they can order those as per the email. Okay. We've now got all of those sections saved, and it's a case now of building out the structure and then copy and pasting the text across, which is probably going to be quicker than the alternative of just starting from scratch or working with this area and trying to style this. If that doesn't make sense, it will do, hopefully, in a few moments. So I'm going to use this as the masthead because we want to get into the content as quickly as possible. I'm definitely going to want to use an image gallery to break up the page. Oh, getting ready for you to stay, I think, wasn't it? Okay. Now we'll probably go in with that 2-paragraph breakdown to start with. If I can find it, do that one there. So what I'm going to do first is take this. I don't think we need to hide it because it's not directly an email. Let's just, so sometimes I paste it after the first character. That means it keeps all the styling. So a couple of little typos. Nearly is better because this is going to be 1 or 2 weeks out. Wood-fired, I'd normally go hyphenated. So just a couple of, I'm going to change that anyway. But we probably need to just tweak the wording of this as well. And let's just okay. I'm going to underline this here. So if we highlight the text, we've got an underline option here. And we'll keep it in keeping with the look and feel of the site. But that's something then that jumps out a little bit as well, because we're trying to eradicate as many stressed inquiries with someone's trying to get in touch. And obviously because they're lost en route, which is not the best experience. So I'm going to, again, paste it after the first letter, sometimes because it will just choose its own formatting. Okay, we don't need a call to action here because this is the destination page. There will be call to actions further down, I think, booking extra excursions, stuff like that. But I think that's looking nice as a starting point. And we can see the difference between this content here and this here. So we've already taken that section out. So I'm just removing this. We're going to delete this entire block at the end of it. We're just using it to easily bring content in so we don't have to switch tabs to Google Doc, for example, or this. Okay, so I think we can add a section on the hot tub. And I'm looking for maybe something like this here. And I do the 2-image combination, but this will depend on what we've got in the image library to use. So if we have a look through the photos, we've got one hot tub photo here. Another one there, but I'm not sure. I think that's the same one. Oh, we could use this one as well. Perfect. So we're using the assets we've already got. Let's have a look now. See if we can dig out the other photo. There we go. So hopefully you can see for a landing page, it's about the experience and breaking down the content so it's nice and easy to flow through. We're thinking magazine as opposed to text, Word document. And we've already done the hard work in building these professional layouts within Squarespace. This was actually built using SquareForge, and let's just jump out of this. We've got all of the starting structures already here. So most of the layouts in this page have been adapted from this. So if we were to look at, say, content blocks and look at the short content blocks here, these are all pre-existing structures that are minimalist and easy to use. So like a 3-column layout here that's already pre-made. Squarespace has its own templates, but I find them limiting. We've got 300 different page structures here, which makes a huge difference. And then when we go on to signposts, this is something that Squarespace is quite weak on, in understanding how to signpost different content. So like anything from simple ones to photos to these circular ones here, the details to offset ones. And we're at the point now where we've got enough layouts that suit this website that we've adapted from here, filled it out with content, tweaked it. So we could probably get rid of all of these folders now, which are the Forge sections. But that's how it works. We sell SquareForge as a one-off $297 fee, and you start with a SquareForge template, and then you build out the pages one at a time. If I show you, and the reason why there's 2 reasons why I love this product. One is I'm biased and I built it myself, but mainly we use it on every single project. So things like these card layouts here that are possible to do just with a normal Squarespace layout. And I'm actually creating tutorials to show you how you can recreate these structures yourself without buying SquareForge. But we just find it so much quicker. So switching between, say, 2-column layout through to card layouts, etc. And then the same as we did earlier, where we went through the layouts and then saved them as favorites. This is what you do here. And then the color palette will then adjust depending on the color settings you choose for your individual site. So once you purchase SquareForge once, you can then duplicate it indefinitely. So don't work on the original version, the master template. You duplicate the site and then you choose the layouts you want, and then you start building your page layout by layout. But if you go to squareforge.net, there's loads of tutorials. In fact, there's a tutorial there, but on a support page. No, I need to hook that up. That's very naughty of me. I should have that in place. We've got a load of tutorials that talk you through how to use SquareForge and get the most out of it as well. And we've got a dedicated YouTube channel as well at the moment, although we might be bringing that into our website builders channel. But anyway, so that's SquareForge. It's also available via our coaching community on Skool with a K. So that means that if you don't have $300 at the moment, you can actually buy it in our $97 a month coaching plan. And then you get access to me and my team minimally twice a week, but we're actually bumping up the number of live group sessions that we're running. So that's where you can just come and bring all your problems to us as and when you're getting on with them. But here's just the example of the layouts now that they've been adapted with all of the fonts and the colors, etc. for this site. But it still looks quite different to the actual live site and the pages. So anyway, that's what we're for. Just get back to the layout. I'm going to jump in and edit. So let's look at the next section. So we've got this here. I think we probably need a bit more content in there, but what I'm going to do is put the free range eggs here. It may be that it's a higher priority, but I've got a feeling it just flows from that introductory part there, the letter. And also, Vicky can go and swap these photos out. Maybe if there's one showing the free range eggs, she can drop that into these photos instead. The same then with the firewood, so it could show the wood burner. In fact, I think we've got one, haven't we? Here. So maybe there's one with a better angle showing front on with the wood burner. So if we have a look at this, we'll save that, exit, edit. And let's edit gallery, edit section would be the structure of it. Edit gallery is the content. And let's add, we'll search for image. And then you've got three options. You've got my library, free image, which is Unsplash, and premium images, which I think is Getty. We don't tend to use Getty very often through this. The photos can get quite expensive. Okay, let's have a look here at photos of the wood burner. Perfect. This one is ideal. And everything with the eggs. But this is something, the beauty of this is if they're not available from day one, they can be added at a later date anyway. Lots of photos of the local area. And there's every chance I've gone past it as well. Ah, that looks like a bucket of eggs. Okay, I thought I could add two photos at once, but I can't. So I'm just going to find that one of the wood burner again. Okay. Now I've got to look and see which photos to remove. I think we can remove this one because that one tells probably the better story of the wood burner. And then let's just get to shuffle them around a little bit as well. There we go. So we've got interior, exterior, focus on wood burner, focus on the egg basket there. I think that works really well. Right. So I think the next natural section is going to be the social media pages. And we can just do something really simple, small signposting for that. I'm going to put that as a underlined again. It might be a little bit heavy-handed, and that's where Vicky can just remove that underline there. But I think it's just good when someone's scanning through. If that interests them, they can see then the price quickly enough. Now this content section is deeper. We could potentially just move that image block down a little bit and center these in relation to them. So that's a good thing with the Fluid Engine. We can adjust accordingly. I think this page is looking really nice now, and I think it's definitely good to get someone in the mood. And I am not doing any of the hard work here. I'm just picking up on the work that Ken's done in creating the layouts and just reusing those layouts to create a professional finish sheen to it. So I'm going to get rid of this section now, and let's see how much we've got left. We've got a bit left to go yet. Okay, next section. So this needs to be, only needs to be quite a short section. I don't think there's anything suitable quite for what we want. So I'm going to close that down, save it. And we're going to go to SquareForge. And we're going to go to content blocks and let's have a look at contact to content. And let's have a look at the short ones. Maybe something with a 2-column layout. Maybe content classic. That could look quite nice. Or even this one, and then go with a shorter image and then have the URLs linked on the right-hand side here. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. So I'm going to save that as a favorite. I'll also save this one as well as a fallback option. Now we're going to jump back in. And let's have a go at building this section. We also need to test this on mobile at the end as well. But because we're using pre-existing structures, there should be minimum mobile editing at this stage. So we'll try that one first. It might be overkill. I'm going to put a title in here. Don't need a call to action button. Oh, in fact, we do. I'm going to press Command Z and undo that. I'm going to bring it over here because that will be where the links to the social media channels will be. I'm going to make that smaller. And you might just get a stock photo there of social media. What will be quite nice is actually taking a photo of someone on the Facebook or Instagram pages. Instagram, probably. Okay, press the wrong button completely. Thankfully, I got away with it. The joys of doing something live. Okay. What I'm going to do, instead of having it in this format, because we've got more flexibility with the website, is actually create two buttons here. I'm going to go to fill, so it fills the blocks. That'll look a little bit bigger. And go for the primary button. And then I'm going to duplicate this one. Move it below. And then I'm going to copy the URLs. Remove the kind of the standard link, the placeholder link. And then by default then, because it will detect, and this is quite a relatively new feature in Squarespace that I like, is when you paste in a URL, it will detect it whether it's an internal page or an external page, and it will auto-select open in a new tab if external, which is very handy. That means that if you click on one of those, it will open a new tab going to the social media pages. Or, yeah, and the same then on, I think it will open up the apps if you press them on mobile automatically. That should be the case. Because making sure this works on mobile is also really important, because most people, when they get this email, are far more likely to be on the mobile. And I would say it would be, I think, up to 80 to 20%. 80-20, sorry. So 80% likelihood that they're going to be on a mobile device looking at this. I think we can now put in a photo in this section to break it up. Again, you may look at this and think we've got too many photos, but it's about getting the balance right to make it look like a magazine layout. So I could go for a stock photo of, like I said, a smartphone. But do you know what? I think I'm just going to showcase more of the venue. Everyone knows what Facebook and Instagram looks like if they have accounts with those. One thing that could be quite nice is, as I said, is just like an over-the-shoulder photo of someone on the page whilst they're recording would be a good way of doing that. Okay, so we've got that in place, and we're going to look at the rest of the content in here now. So now a new section. In fact, let's look here. So now we've got the arrival times. And I think we can probably go into more paragraph layout for this. So I'm going to edit this section above first. So we can go with the lighter color there. And now, if we look at the saved sections, I think we're going to go back to this structure here. I'm going to put these as headings for statements. Have this in here. Maybe go with heading 4. We can change the size difference because heading 4 actually is a little bit too much of a drop down in size. So maybe we're going to go with a, paragraph 1. Let's see what we've got. No, that's too dark. We'll put these in bold as well. There we go. That's better. And I might just hold Shift and Enter to create an extra space there to separate those 3 points. We're getting to a point now where we want to make sure we're getting more of this content in place. So I'm going to put less additional information, put more text content, less visual photo information in, photographic content into this. Good grief, the brain's not working today. Let's remove those. So hopefully we can find the cancellation terms and conditions and link to that there. So I think we can probably remove these here and add in we can go straight into the extras, which of course is quite image driven as well. So this balances it quite nicely. So let's put that text in there. I think what we're going to do is change the format of it. And I'm going to sign off what was an email. I'm just going to tweak this for now, but again, I expect the client fully to go through this and get it to work after the information they want. So I'm just taking a couple of liberties or just guesstimates with how that's going to work. So we've got two sections now. I think this is going to be the sign off section at the bottom of the page. That's with the sign off there. So let's go in and add in optional extras. I want to make sure that's, and what we're going to do is add a form to book those extras at the bottom of the page. Sometimes what I do is I just actually use Command and minus or Control and minus on a Windows PC. This is on Chrome, but I think it will work on most browsers. That allows me to select everything in one go and move that down so I've got a bit more space to put the title in. And then if I hold Command and press 0, it will go back to the 100% view size on there. It's a little hack that's worked well for me when using content management systems for years. Because of the spacing of that, I want it slightly closer to the content than the top of the section for spacing. So I've just selected once and then moved it to the bottom. And what we're going to do now is add a button, or I could add a form. Let's go to the content. We can edit the form fields. We're going to have the name, email, and then what we're going to do is have an optional message. So I'm going to go from that and put it so it's not required. And then add a field for, we shouldn't need to sign up for extra news and updates because they do that as part of the process anyway. So this, hopefully I can remove that. And let's go for a regular button section. And now what Vicky can do is just go in and put all the extras in there in that form. The only thing is, visually, that now doesn't look quite as nice because we can see it's dropping down here and I don't like that. So what we could do instead is double click on it and go to design. There used to be an option that we could just switch it to a button. We can change the form style, which is a relatively new feature, and I like that in Squarespace. Just makes them look a bit nicer. Lightbox mode. So we can change the So the reason I chose the one as a radio button is it allows them to select more than the visitor select more than one option. If we edit the form fields and just see if we can, we can remove the email sign up option from that as well. But that means now that form will appear as a light box, and we can just test it now. Let's see how that works. And Vicky can put a text block above that now to say what's going to be in there, and of course just needs to change those options and where the form is sent to via the settings. But we're pretty close now apart from directions. So again, we can potentially see if there's already a map layout in our saved sections, favorited sections there. Yeah, we've got this map option here. And let's move this content block over here. And we can put the directions in. Perfect. So we'll leave that what 3 words, and we'll just change that out. Don't need the logo there, so we can use that extra space. And now it's just a case of formatting this. Yeah, our underline in here again on this one. As I said, this might be a bit heavy-handed, and it's a balancing act because we want to be as helpful as possible, but at the same time, we don't want to be treating our visitors with contempt. And let's bring this map over here so we can make this look really nice and impactful. And I think we've got the option to remove that. We could also, I'll leave it to Vicky to decide whether she wants to put the link to the massage therapist's website in that block. There's plenty of space for it if needed as well. This isn't a perfectly finished article yet. Find assist directions. I think we'll leave that in as a heading 3. That'll be a heading 2. And then we'll put this back to paragraph 2. Okay. I'm interested to see what you think. There's a little bit of tweaking to do, as I said, with this, and we need to fix it on mobile. I'll have a quick look in just a moment. But if we just preview this page, what we started with, I should have duplicated that page just so we can compare the two, but an empty page with just text only to now what I think is a really nice introductory landing page. Sometimes when people think of landing pages, they think of you're selling a product or service through it. But I think every good service page or product page on a website needs to look like a landing page. So many times it used to be the case of, and it's still the case with some designers as well, you put so much effort into the homepage of the website that you see a drop off in quality when you go to other pages in the site. We try to avoid that as much as possible so we have a nice flow through the site for even pages that aren't on the menu system. But this should have everything they need before the stay, including the option to book. That needs a little bit of an intro paragraph in terms of instructions of how to book potentially. But I said I'll leave that for Vicky to go through it. We then bring in part of the letter part of it as well, and we can see the directions there below. So it gets quite text heavy at the bottom. So again, it could be a case of just reordering some of these aspects, maybe even moving the extras in between those sections here, and then changing the section color here to white. And yeah, that could be a nice way of breaking it up a bit more. But that's the desktop view. Let's go and have a look at mobile. Most of it should be pretty good. So that's all looking nice there. We can just bring that up a little bit, just so it flows a bit quicker. We can bring this bottom section up a little bit as well. Actually bring these images down a block. So there's a bit more breathing space there. This section, we need to do a bit more work because we did some resizing on the images, which will impact as well. And we need to move these buttons because we changed the template, if you recall. So let's move those buttons into position. This is a little bit tight to the top. Command Z to undo that. But again, if we zoom out, you see this. Sometimes Squarespace does it. I don't know why. It's really annoying because we put that booking form in. It's messed up the rest of the layout. I think we can probably get away with just having these nice and compact, quite close together. It's just the one more to move up. I can now shrink that section, leave a bit of space at the bottom. This then is going to take care of itself pretty much, and then we go into the footer. So that didn't take too long to fix on mobile because, again, we're using pre-existing templates from SquareForge, meaning that most of the legwork in getting the layouts been done. If I put it back to Command 0, just go back to full screen. There we have it. A landing page that looks a lot nicer than the original email, but also has more content than the new trimmed down email that we created in the campaign. So we now have this email that when you click on these welcome pack buttons, so finally we can set these up. And because it's Squarespace email campaigns, we can just find the page automatically. So we don't even need to go and find the URL and copy and paste that in. It's the same link for both. I did press save on this, didn't I? Yeah, we can double check those links as well. But before obviously sending these emails, it's always really important to go and check links. This is a truncated version of the page we've created so that the email doesn't go on forever. It should have all of the most important information. I think that should be probably a bullet point. So now that should auto save, and we can go back and we've got our email template and we've got our landing page. Right, that 2 workshops done and dusted. Hope you're still with me. Hope you enjoyed. And if you're looking for more tutorials, feedback, or coaching for your career in web design, or you're just looking to handle and take control of a website for your business or organization, then I've got a Skool community, that's Skool with a K, where I can coach you at each step of the way. Myself and my team run live drop-in surgery sessions every single week, and you will have a minimum of a 10-minute block where I can help you with the problem at hand. Most of the time, we fix issues there and then. And if I can't, like in this video today, I can use it as an opportunity to create a live recording on our free YouTube channel and solve your individual problems. One of our local clients, Vicky, who is a member of our Skool community, kindly gave me the permission to use these 2 videos today. And not only have I been able to share my design processes with you, I've created an email template and a landing page for her website within her monthly membership. And it would have cost her hundreds for us to have created this as a separate project. And now she has the skills and ability to be able to pick up these templates and work with them going forward. I've left some information in the description if you're intrigued about joining our Skool community. Otherwise, I'll catch you soon with some more tutorials and workshops. Cheers.